Hello. This is a tarot reading for Aries for the first of the year, January 2017. Um, and if you haven't already done so, please check out my introductory videos where I explain a little bit about how I'm approaching sort of the art of reading tarot cards and what you can expect and how you can utilize this as a tool for personal development and growth. So let's get right into it for Aries here. So what we have for your current situation is the Hanged Man. Okay, um, and I'm also going to show you that what's crossing you right now is the Ace of Wands. So this is your current situation, and this is what's crossing you here. And the Hanged Man sort of indicates a person who is along for the ride. It's sort of like being reactive rather than proactive, right? So you're in a place where you feel like your hands are kind of tied, and you kind of just have to wait for something else to happen or a new development to occur for additional direction to be taken. Now that said, what's crossing you here is the Ace of Wands, which is a sort of a creative inspiration, a spark. Right. So what this is telling me is that, especially looking at your other cards, you're sort of in the immediate environment of someone who's in the middle of this process, of this creative inspiration. And you're in a place where you understand it and you see it occurring, and you're forced to sort of allow the process to take place, you know? And it can be a frustrating experience, or it can be really rewarding. This can be like watching a plant grow, you know? You have to, at a certain point, anybody who's dealt with plants or growing vegetables or crops or anything like that knows that at a certain point you have to sort of let go and let nature be nature. You have to sort of like just be along for the ride. And so I think that what I'm seeing here is that there is a creative venture and process that you need to facilitate and be along for the ride for. Be there as a supporting individual. Even though it might be a little frustrating, because I'm sure that you have your own creative ventures that you would want to be involved in, you know. And I see that the way that you got here, your recent past, is the Star, which is a good sign. So in other words, what this is telling me is that divinity has been the path which has brought you to where you are. So the situation is good, regardless of how it looks or how frustrating it is. This is meant to happen. This is meant to be, and you should trust it. Everything was, or the directions were followed. You know, intuitions were listened to. The inner voice was listened to bring the situation to where it is, and that's with all parties involved. You know, it's in the stars, so to speak. So trust it. You know, and what I'm seeing is that if you're not careful in this situation, if you let your ego get a little too involved, in the near future, you could see some unwanted conflicts, specifically mental conflicts, about an idea. One of you believed that something happened that was a little bit more offensive than the other one of you meant. You know, this is what you want to look out for in your future, because in reality, we all want to foster and inspire this creative vision in everybody. So sometimes we have to be patient and wait for it to unfold in a person's mind. We can't just make them instantly get what we're trying to get them to understand or see, you know. So be careful. Look out for that. In your subconscious, I'm seeing the Knight of Wands, which reinforces that you are you're in a good mental spot yourself, you know. And I feel like a lot of us spend a significant portion of our time trying to achieve these good mental states. So when we feel one coming on, your first instinct is to try to figure out a way for you to use that to improve or better your life or your position, or working towards your goals and dreams. But we also have to remember that part of that growing process, that creative flowing, opening up the doors of creativity, involves inspiring others too. So don't be too anxious to get in there and just express your own art, you know, your own form of self-expression, whatever it is. remember that part of creativity is also inspiring others. It has to have, it's like in science, we say it's not really useful unless it has a heuristic function, which means, does the piece of knowledge that you're adding into the sphere of known facts or whatever, is it useful in that, does it allow you to ask more questions off based of that answer, you know? Because if it doesn't, if it's sort of a dead end, then it's functionally meaningless. And you find that things like that don't tend to have a lot of promise in science, you know? So this is, and I'm going way out of the way just to tell you that be patient with other people, and this suggests that you're very anxious about this. You want to get your own ball rolling. You know, you've got all the pieces. You've spent so long putting the pieces into place. You're really anxious to get there, but hold on for just a little bit longer. And we see that in your crowning thoughts, in your higher thinking, your conscious mind, you've got the Two of Swords here, and the Two of Swords is about sort of like being prepared. It's sort of the Jedi card of the tarot deck. You can see the figure here. She's blindfolded, but she has like a third eye open, and she's got two swords, and she's sort of balanced there, perched. And the idea that this is trying to convey, really professional, classic, trained fencing or fencers, you know, the sword fighting people. The way that they used to train, or they may still do it, I don't know, but they would live with the master. The apprentice would live with the master and would be told to expect at any time an attack coming from any direction, you know. And so whatever he had in his hands, you know, he's mostly doing laundry and things for the master, but whatever he's got in his hands, he's expected to defend himself with it at no moment's notice, you know. And so he's always tense. He's always like, you know, not knowing which direction the attack is going to come from. And what he finds is that if he prepares for the attack in one way, then the master comes from the other and whacks him on the back of the head. So eventually he sort of gives up, and he's just like, well, if he hits me, he hits me, you know. And in that moment, because he's freed up that mental energy, because he's no longer investing energy into an unknown direction, he has this additional energy available to him to use in a snap moment's notice, the way that it was intended to be used. See, so in other words, bouncing the fact that your master is about to hit you back in your head, back and forth in your head repeatedly, is very stressful. It's very mentally taxing, and it takes up valuable processing time that your mental computer could be using on other things. So you find that when you feel like everything is really tough, like it's really hard to get through your day, that if you sort of just like sit back and let the world be what it is, all of a sudden things get easier, almost as if by magic. It's like the veil lifted, you know. And the cards are advising you to be very much like this, like the King of Cups. And the King of Cups is, you know, a master of his emotions. He is totally balanced. Now, that doesn't mean by any stretch of the meaning that he's just like stoic, you know, like not affected by emotions. No, he's flowing very fluidly with his emotions. His emotions are not being pent up. They're not being held up, because that's when things get extreme, right? If we were honest with each other and, you know, told each other, you know, honestly, you're being kind of annoying right now and I want to go away. You know, if we were kind of accustomed to that sort of honesty, then that would not sting as much as being constantly subjected to somebody who's really grinding our gears to the point where we really lash out at them and hurt them. So this is really just more about being completely open and honest, and being, you know, looking inward to the true self in this situation, not getting too caught up in your ego, not getting too caught up in wanting to get your creative process done. This is stand by, be diplomatic, and foster this process in others who are not far, maybe not as far along in their personal development as you are, you know. And what I see for your current environment here is the Two of Wands. And so this comes together very nicely, because what was crossing you was this Ace of Wands, and the Two of Wands is sort of taking the energy, that creative spark, which was developed in the Ace here, and then putting it into action or giving it a direction, giving it something to do. That creative spark, implementing it. So this in your environment card pretty clearly indicates that you're not the one who's supposed to be implementing this creative spark. Like, give this one to someone else, and that's the message that I keep hearing here, is that you're going to have an opportunity to, shine, to take credit for something, but there's also going to be someone else in this situation that could really use that confidence boost, that the benefit of going through this situation, and it's a very good time for you to maybe relinquish some of those goodies to somebody else who, I'm pretty sure you already know who it is, who needs that. And your fears card here is the Nine of Cups, and I take this to really mean in a situation like this, where you're sort of mulling over whether or not you should give up the reins or the spotlight to another person, it makes it way easier to recognize the value in that if you learn to sort of count your blessings, because what you're afraid of is that you're missing your shot. We're all really doing the best we can, and we're really trying to get to that dream. So it seems like to consciously sit back and not allow that to happen is something very difficult for you to do, particularly, as an Aries. It's difficult for you to sit back and let that happen and not, reach for every opportunity to make you happy. But I'm being told that this is a very important exception to that rule by which that you would normally live your life, and that you need to take this opportunity to help somebody else grow and count your own blessings. So this is a card that is very involved with gratefulness and contemplation of what you already have and who you are, and how you're already perfect in everything. In every way that you could be, you are essentially perfect. So any inadequacies that you perceive are really just a manufactured contrast with other people that your mind creates, and it's not real. It's a fictional concept. So count your blessings, and remember that you can equally get satisfaction in life out of seeing other people reach their goals as by reaching your own goals. It's all just how you look at it. But even if you don't feel the value in that, keep it in the back of your mind, because you may reach a point one day where you find yourself feeling a little unfulfilled, or like something is missing, and that might be a really good place to start looking, is in that general sort of area of expression in life. For your overall message, we have the Four of Cups, and this card is primarily concerned with appreciating. It's similar to the Nine of Cups in that it's telling you to focus inward. It's telling you to search within yourself rather than in the external environment. So in the original artwork, there's a guy sitting by a little tree on a riverbank, and he's got three cups sitting in front of him, and he's sort of looking at them and staring off into space as if he's looking straight through them, as if the value or the intrinsic meaning of these cups has somehow just disappeared, and he's not seeing them as reality anymore. He's stuck. He's like inside his own head. And then there's also like a little a cloud or an arm stretched out offering him another cup, and he's again just not even seeing that. And so what it's saying is that every now and then you're in a mental spot, a mental state of mind, where the world around you will sort of fade into the background. It'll be sort of gray. Everything will lack a sense of meaning. And in that circumstance. You know, a lot of us find refuge from those more negative feelings, which can cause us some pretty serious anxiety. A lot of us find refuge in the creative process, in self-expression. It feels as though we are creating a reality to us. You know, like we have a way of bringing all of this world that we live into the external environment around us, and by doing that we feel a connection with it, you know, and sometimes that's the only way we can find that connection. Well, with this, it's about being grateful for what you have, and it's about and I'm sorry, I just sort of lost my train of thought there a little bit. But the overall message to this is, like I said, about being grateful for what you have, and about turning inward for your satisfaction, not about the external environment. You know, don't worry about manifesting your own personal creativity at this point. Make other people your art right now. And I think that'll take you very far. You'd be really surprised, you know. And gratefulness goes both ways. So when you improve a person's life, they have a way of thanking you for that. But overall, a very interesting reading. Happy to do it for you. And if you guys have any questions or comments about the reading, please leave them in the comments, and I'd be happy to address any questions or anything I can help you with. Okay? Thank you, and we'll see you next time.